Hello again, adventurers, and sorry again, adventurers, that I missed yesterday's vlog. That honestly was just because I completely forgot. We had a busy day yesterday. We went and we did some fun stuff. We went to the Norman Medieval Fair, which, if you're familiar with Renaissance festivals, unlike a lot of them that are across the country that have permanent structures, this is what's referred to as a tent fair. But it's a lot of fun. It appeared that they had their own cast this year, actors out in the lanes doing stuff, which is kind of neat. I thought they were just a collection of vendors and a couple of shows. There was a little bit more to it this year, but it was very, very cold. So, at least for for Oklahoma, and compared to what we expected to the weather to be, not cold in comparison to people up north. So before we get into the whole weather discussion, we'll just skip right over that. So we didn't spend a whole lot of time there, though. We got exactly what we came for. We're looking for a specific vendor where we got, you can see on my Instagram and Twitter, or at least on Twitter, I posted my the Four Seasons Green Man faces that we have. We actually have had, I think, a total of 3 different ones over the course of several years now, but we lost 2 of them in moving, and so we basically completed the set again. And if we ever find those other 2, those will become, presents for other people. But now we have a Green Man face that we can hang up front. It's sculpted out of, my guess is he sculpts it out of clay and then makes a mold and then casts them, I think, out of concrete, but I'm honestly not sure, and then paints them. But they're gorgeous. They're really well done. So yeah, check out my Twitter if you want to see those. Yesterday, I also had my brother's D&D game that I play in. So we played in that from 5 to 10, and that was fantastic. Fantastic session. Um, my my character managed to bluff to the big bad, and the implications of that. Anyway, I'm finding myself doing surprisingly well, emotionally speaking. After last week, I thought I would be down and out in, just a lot of crying again. Um, and while there's been more, and while I've been tired, I think all of the measures that I took to be healthy and prepare for this were incredibly useful. It's basically a don't beat yourself up about missing a day, like Sunday, and just kind of relax and don't try and push out any content or anything. So last week was really good for that. And this week I'm going to kind of continue that, but at the same time not pushing for content. But what you will see is kind of the setting around me change. I am moving my computer out into and finishing setting up out into the 1-car garage that we have. I have it divided in half. One side is like the dirty side of crafting. The other side is going to be computer and clean. I'm also going to be updating some other things throughout the course of the next month or so, where hopefully I move the really dirty crafting, like heavy duty, what do you call it? Sanding and stuff like that, just outside. And what I might do for that is when I've got to do work that has to produce that much sand, if my landlord won't let me basically build a pallet-based deck next to the house, then what I'm going to do instead is essentially save the heavy sanding to do right out on the driveway, like in the bed of my truck. I'm going to back the truck up in the driveway, and that way I can keep more and more of the sawdust and the fumes from any chemicals or paints that I may use outside of the main garage itself. I'll keep the divider up just because there's still going to be some woodwork and dirtier crafting on that side, and I want the gaming side of it, the studio side of it, that you'll see in the camera most readily and that I'll be spending the most time in. I want that to be clean and neat and have a certain aesthetic to it, and I really hope that you guys enjoy it. I'm kind of going for Wizard's Inner Sanctum, so you'll see a lot of, it's not going to be exactly like this. This has a mix of, our office was supposed to be purely comic book, and that's kind of what it's going to become now. It's going to become purely Michelle's office. It's my wife. Purely Michelle's office for both for work and for her own time, and also kind of our library where we can come and sit and read. I'll probably move this desk out into the living room, so we've got a work surface out there to work with. Basically, lots of changes and expansions and moving around and stuff coming in the next week. that's going to keep me occupied. I'm still going to try and do Vita with it, but Vita, instead of focusing on the emotional stuff like it has been so far, is going to be focusing more on, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. This is the changes we made. One of the biggest things I've got to do tomorrow is run my Cat 8, Cat 7, some badass Ethernet cable. I have to run it across the ceiling and underneath, and it's going to be a long, involved process, but this is the only place that the modem can plug in and modem router can plug in, so I got to work with what I got. So I'm going to run a nice solid Ethernet cable all the way out to the garage, so that way the computer continues to have badass connection. So that's plans for the coming week. Kind of talked a little bit about how I'm feeling. Like emotionally, like I said, I expected this to be more rough, more chaotic, more up and down. And it's been considerably more like a bout of depression. It's just kind of middling and numb and tired all of the time. That's the biggest frustration I'm dealing with right now, is the fact that no matter how much I sleep, it feels like I'm always tired. And I've tried adding exercise, a little bit of exercise, because I know I've kind of become sedentary and doing the work at the computer lifestyle and craftsman lifestyle, because you sit down and you work a lot. But so it's important to get up and move your legs, get your blood pumping, even if it's only 30 minutes a day, just playing with your dog or something like that. That can be enough exercise to keep your body healthy. I would recommend, as you start hitting your 30s, I recommend you do things like stretching before you start doing any kind of exercise. Stretch when you get up in the morning and stretch before you go to bed at night. Just like 2-3 minutes worth of stretching. Stretch your problem areas, roll your shoulders, stretch your arms. This is stuff that I've learned from I went and got a massage a couple weeks ago, and it's the stuff that he said is like people that you don't really think about it. But like if after all day your lactic acid and everything builds up in your muscles, and if you don't stretch to release that, snake just fell off of his door. If you don't stretch to release that, then your muscles, it pulls up in your muscles and they bind up and it hurts more. And again, I'm not a medical professional, so probably don't quote me on most of this, but my point is, as you get older, us mortals have to make sure that we stretch, because our muscles and our bones and our joints get old and stiff. And if you stretch, it makes a big difference. I've noticed a huge difference. Stretching just a couple nights and mornings in a row, you just feel a lot more limber and loose in the morning. It's nice. Dyed my hair again yesterday. I'll be honest in saying overtone fades pretty fast. Like, you'd have to condition with their leave-in conditioner probably every day, but at the same time, like, that's expensive. And those bottles, for having really long hair, those bottles do not go a very long way. And I go through a lot of conditioner, so when they say replace your daily conditioner with this, I would love to, but I don't make that kind of money. So this is actually on top of the already bleached and dyed hair from before. It's starting to get a little pastel looking. So I picked up the first thing that I tried before I'd even bleached my hair, which is the L'Oreal Colorista Green number 5, I believe is what it's called. And this is exactly the color I was looking for. Pretty much the color of my mod. It looks a little blue in the light of the room in here because we've got blue walls, but this is what I was looking for. I'm really happy with it. The Colorista is actually really gentle on the hair as well. And you can see I did it last night. Even with the help of my wife, we still got some on the scalp. I've just been lazy and not used coconut oil to get that off of there, but I did discover a little bit of coconut oil, like on the end of a Q-tip, will take even the staunchest of fantasy colors. At least I can't speak to the real like pigments, but we'll get the staunchest of fantasy colors right off your scalp. So it's kind of a nice touch up. I would recommend coconut oil over, if you're not allergic, over mute. Forgot to mute my phone while recording. Sorry, folks. But over Vaseline, because if you get Vaseline in your hair, really, if you get coconut oil in your hair, you're not dyeing that strip of hair until you shampoo that amount out again. I learned that the hard way too. But yeah, I'm L'Oreal Colorista Green number 5, $10, one bottle. It's enough to cover all of my hair, and I'm really pleased with the results. So I don't know if L'Oreal Colorista is vegan or cruelty-free or anything like that. I'm not a vegan. I do believe in cruelty-free. I think it's a little bullshit that we still do things like test makeup on animals. Why the fuck would we do that? We have human beings who I'm sure would be happy to sit down in your chair and test stuff out, for free product or something like that. But that'll cost you money, and piggies getting makeup on doesn't cost you money. That's pretty fucked. Like, just test your shit on people. It's a beauty thing. It's totally a luxury thing that we all use, whether it's male or female wearing, or non-binary, of course, wearing makeup. It's a luxury thing that we like, or that we do to make ourselves feel better. And I don't think we can feel better in good conscience knowing that animals have not consented to the rigmaroles of testing these different things to make sure there aren't skin reactions. So animals suffer and sometimes even die from adverse reactions to other things. So like I'm not a PETA member. Let me say that firmly. Fuck PETA. But I don't think we need to. We need to be testing makeup and cosmetics and shit on animals. And like I said, I'm not vegan. So as far as I work with leather and male must be here, all that sort of thing. So I don't subscribe to the vegan ideals, but I do support people who do, and that's totally your choice. As long as it's much like religion. As long as you're not proselytizing your way of life and being angry and judgmental with me with the way you live your life and the way I live my life, then we're fine. You do you. Because whether or not you're vegan does not affect me. But just remember that you cannot say that being vegan is cruelty-free while we have so many human beings that are suffering at the hands of unfair labor practices to harvest your kale. So just remember that we've all got blood on our hands right now, and we have a lot of work to do to fix it. But you can't tout some high and mighty moral compass thing if you're going to let human beings suffer. Sorry, humans come before animals. We all are in this together, but when it comes right down to it, we have to look out for each other first and take care of each other first. And my brain totally lost where I was going with that. Side effect of rambling. When you forget what you were saying, drink coffee. My coffee has gone cold. Anyway. So yeah, long story short, beauty products should be cruelty-free at the very least. And I prefer vegan just because, again, it's a cosmetic thing, so why should animals be dying for a cosmetic thing? But animals have been dying for millennia for cosmetic stuff, for human beings, so... But then there's the argument of just because it's always been doesn't mean that it's okay, so... See, we just blew open like 18 cans of worms. Welcome to the Rambling Bard channel adventures. Anyway... This Bard is going to take the rest of today because I'm waiting on my tools to arrive. I ordered a new power drill from Home Depot. I'm waiting for my tools to arrive so I can install some floating shelves tomorrow, so we can put up our shelves, so we can put up things like systems on our main TV in the living room, and I want to put a big floating shelf right near the ceiling, or pretty close to it anyway, for the modem / router, so it's got a big elevated away from everything else, no electrical interference, can hit the whole house. So I'm probably going to pick up a corner floating shelf for that, as well as a couple of floating shelves for the living room, and bookshelves for the studio. Both tall ones and a short one that's actually going to sit on the desk and hold all of the systems. So we'll show you guys how the layout works and all that over the course of the next coming week. Real quick, because I don't think I've ever actually addressed this. The reason I say adventurers so often is it is a nice gender-neutral way to address all of you. I try to be inclusive with everything that I say, and every now and then you'll hear me when I'm talking on these unedited videos especially, you'll hear me say guys to refer to the general group of all of you. I do apologize for those of you that's triggering for. I'm not attempting to gender that. That is a gender-neutral thing in my brain, much like the word dude is, even though I acknowledge both of those words are masculine gendered. So one of the things that I try and do in my show is I try to avoid that. I try and say adventurers or folks. I like folks. I've said folks a lot. It's a My parents were both from Michigan, so I kind of picked that up from them. It's not really a Southern thing to say. You'll hear me say y'all because I am Southern. I was born and raised in Texas. So if you're ever wondering about stuff like that, that's where that comes from. Is I'm trying to be inclusive. I'm trying to make sure that the things that I say, I'm trying to think about the things that I say before I say them, and trying to make sure that then, by extension, the things that I say without thinking so much come out correctly. Yeah? So practice good habits and it will infect your daily life, just like with people like PewDiePie who practice incredibly bad habits when they're behind the camera or in front of the camera saying horrible, horrible, horrible fucking racist things. Fuck PewDiePie. I hate him. Anyway, things like that. Yeah, practice bad habits behind the camera and they're going to come out in front of the camera. So practice good habits all the time. You got a bad habit, some horrible racist or sexist thing that you picked up along the way from a parent or an uncle or a friend or a group of friends or something like that, examine yourself. Look at what you're doing and go, I'll sum it up with that. Examine yourself. Realize you can be better. This bard has had enough rambling for today, and now I'm going to go and play video games. Adventurers, remember, life is a series of choices between fear and love. Choose love.